I guess like the reason why I wanted to do a session today was really around this theme of sex in a way in my life. And my film that I finished my first draft and sent out for notes that I'm so passionate about making.
Oh, congratulations.
But basically it's around, you know, a town and a couple's and a woman's awakening around sex and sort of dismantling the rules, societal rules and controls around what sex is. And it was so cool because I've gone sort of deep into a lot of the Abraham Hicks stuff about what she talks about sex and how, you know, the sort of universal source energy perceives it. And without realizing it, what I had written was so in alignment with that. And I'm like, yay, this is just coming together really well.
Oh, great.
But I'm in this phase with my career where we've always talked about like the switching of the tracks versus like fear of losing my abundance. And the universe has always really provided me with like absolute comfort and cushion at every step of the way. And I feel like I'm on this sort of cliff about to like launch off and fly. And my sort of worry about everything gonna kind of turn out okay is wavering a little bit. I often intertwine love and the desire for love with my work, which is something that I'm trying, like a pattern that I'm trying to break.
Into unconditional love and your free will birthright. And attuning to your free will beyond your human, attune it in the way that you've carried your belief systems along with your consciousness, and then you've inserted them into your body. Though your belief systems were long standing before your human experience in this life, at least. And so attuning to your free will on a higher level that transcends this life, that temporary kind of experience of the matrix, in registering that you may be tapping in at this moment to belief systems that anchor in these type of experiences filtered into 3D, 4D. So if you have limiting beliefs around, for example, guilt of caring for your father, if you have limiting beliefs around needing to intertwine your intimate lover with your work, if you have limiting belief systems around how you've capped your ability to perceive yourself grander in your work field, all of these, so opening up to free will of releasing belief systems from a more expanded level. And just as a general rule with this, getting aware that shame, guilt, blame are, and fear are major limiting belief systems that are embedded in all of us. The number one reason we have karma, guilt. Calling in the Aurora Guardians to flood in that beautiful Aurora plasma, flushing into your soul star chakra, cleansing, clearing. Asking Archangel Metatron to overlight you and assist magnetizing out anything that does not serve, activating this beautiful orange and violet flame. Calling in Archangel Sandalphon to come up from 5th, 6th dimensional earth, cleansing, clearing your lower chakra bodies, magnetizing out anything that doesn't serve. Utilizing his beautiful white diamond and gold flame. Asking Archangel Michael to come support you from behind, invoking his sapphire flame. Let yourself fall into his safety. Let him cleanse your spine, your back body, everything back there. And just take a moment here with your being, activating your will, asserting that you're ready to truly let the past be the past. And again, we're talking not just human, we're talking about, quote unquote, the past, your whole experience of your consciousness and your soul. Asking all that you are to really help you experience what it means to be now moment through your beliefs, through your consciousness, through your thought forms. Let your endocrine system get involved with this. Let your brain function get involved. Giving it permission to kind of rise up. The image is like anti-gravity. If I were going to rewind in slow-mo a scene where rain's falling down, rain rising back up, and then kind of doing a clean sweep of neural pathways, loops, muscle memory, a whole reset. Opening up heart walls, again, opening up a new block in your thymus to clear out. Use Archangel Michael's sword of truth and start cutting cords. Blow up that image in your brain, what you saw on the screen. Push that out. And I'm going to propose an idea here because they're saying that it'll be good for you to approach it from a new perspective as opposed for it being so personalized.
Yeah.
Okay, so something that I'm working on right now around a video to share is Loosh Farming. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay, so Loosh Farming is exactly what the Matrix movie portrays when they show the field where humans are grown.
Okay.
And that liquid that's coming out of them. That's Loosh Energy. So these, beings, right, the controller beings on the etheric plane have long sought out to harvest Loosh Energy, which is an energy that humans and animals excrete through their biomagnetic fields, I believe. And a long time ago, it was farmed and harvested through the experience and energy invoked through love and compassion. And then it was learned that there's much more potent, concentrated Loosh energy that comes from fear, grief, sexual assault, specifically parents fearing for their child's life, these types of really shadow experiences. And that is what set in motion, us kind of becoming this garden, this planet that is grown in a way to feed the beings that harvest Loosh. And then, come their minions that they're like, okay, well, we're gonna be from afar, and you guys are gonna do the work, and we're gonna reap the benefits, collecting that Loosh from afar. And so the controller beings come in and start doing everything that we know they do. Though all of it is around production. So impulsing humans to produce more Loosh. So the guides want to bring this up around experiences where you may get hooked in, for example, the self-worth. Facebook is a tool that is very efficient in activating impulsing, and then extracting Loosh. So take a moment here and add in this extra information around how you were targeted through that experience. You believe it activated your self-worth issues, though you were very specifically targeted and reeled in, and then they push those pressure points, and through your muscle memory of having those emotions before, your body knows how to reproduce that experience. And so just taking this kind of grander awareness that this is constantly happening. It's always been happening, right? But that's what it is. So the impulse for shadow feelings, insecurities, horror, chaos, terror, drama, trauma, all of it, the higher intention is around loosh farming. So realizing that, I think if one finds that kind of stern free will decision that I don't want to feed them anymore. You know, if it can make it that much more simple and clear that when it's not about you being responsible for all of your feelings and emotions and going through your shadow work and process, it becomes more general in a way that you don't want to feed them, right?
Yeah.
So there's a different what's the word I'm looking for?
It's like there's a different thought. It makes it easier to reach for the higher feeling thought even when you're triggered.
Yeah, because because this is what the guides are showing now. There is even a hopelessness and a burden in having to climb up out of the self-worth. So we already frame it like, oh God, now I got to do the work, right?
Yeah.
But that work, quote unquote, is still loosh. So then it's like, oh, okay. Like, I need to genie. I need to snap my fingers and just be gone.
Yeah. And that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that because that's a lot of what the Abraham Hicks stuff is about as well, and being able to do that quickly is really what I've been working on the past couple of weeks.
Right. Because it's okay. It's okay. That's the design to impulse the self-worth feelings and the devaluing and the fear and the this. It's all in the design. And so in that that's where a new grand acceptance can be, right? And so if one has done enough of the work like you're safe to embrace it from that higher perspective, accepting it, holding it, right?
Yeah.
And be aware of the design here because there becomes a very clear frequency revealment when you start realizing that this has been happening. Then it starts to become very apparent when the frequency is impulsing you, is hooking you, is pushing you. It's palpable, right? It's like, I'm going to call it humidity. It's like being aware. There's humidity in the air, right? And so, and it is completely woven into the dynamics, the exchanges, the perspectives, everything. People don't even realize they're looshing each other.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so they're like, the image they give me is you're sitting at a picnic, and you just basically look down and you're like, oh, okay, look at all of these items here. I brought my basket. I threw out my blanket. I've got all of these items that I was going to indulge in, but now I realize this is all loosh. And so I can basically take each corner of my blanket here, scoop it all up, throw it over my shoulder, and just dump it.
Yeah.
And that cap, I'm going to pull it out of your chest and your throat. And then start using Archangel Michael's sword now to cut more cords that are revealing for you. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in Raphael on your right, blazing emerald flame, assisting. Calling in Zadkiel also to assist, calling in Uriel in front, Gabriel on the left. Giving the High Council of the Hathors permission to upgrade your baseline frequency with tonal vibration. Wonderful. And then we're going to ground out your ovaries, flushing out your ovaries, sexual body. The guides love this. They're like, oh, you just wait till we get to that. Sexual body. Okay. And guides, I lost my train of thought. Get me back there. Oh, okay. So the cap, the work cap. Visualize the crown of thorns. Okay, so there is a very specific, I'm going to call it an implant, that is put onto many people, and it literally looks like a crown of thorns. It's around guilt, right? It ties us, links us to that guilt around Yeshua giving his life, this whole thing. And so just kind of see yourself removing, the guides are going to assist you to remove that implant that really creates, make it a quasi image, right, of crown of thorns, but also as if you've got this thing on your head that creates virtual reality. Right? And it taps into all of it, not just your visual perspective, right, but your cognizance, your emotions, your hormone, all of it. Your nerves firing. And let them remove it. Start to see, and now that you've got all this great information from Abraham Hicks too, and you can see how this links in. It's one and the same, just said in a different way. And how the trap really is about personalization in a big way.
Okay.
And so if you can get into a experience where you're already going to have the perspective of the personalization, right? Because it's your experience. And then also, okay, so I know what that is. And what would it be from that general broad controller standpoint? And again, this is beyond your human. This is realizing that you're inserted into this matrix. You're having your experiences. Your human body is linked to your emotional experiences and your chemicals and your brain function and all of that. So how could this be an impulse? It's still always our responsibility, though it's that much easier to take responsibility when we realize that because of the law of free will, the controllers cannot just take it from you. They have to manipulate your mind. It has to still be your free will choosing, though it can be your free will choosing because you've been completely manipulated and deceived. Right? So if they've mastered trapping your emotions, your hormones, your visual cortex, all of it, how can you see it from that perspective? Because then you really start becoming puppet master. You start seeing how they've been doing that the whole time. Now around your work, they're going to wrap back around your work. What a wonderful way to cap and limit your expansion. And now start to bring in the experience of fear here, because you know, even though we still don't grasp it fully, we know that fear is false evidence appearing real. But it's such a real feeling and sensation. So can you start to grasp more and more that fear, and they're showing me the image of like a beaker with that glass stirrer,
Mm-hmm.
They've found the perfect concoction of fear. You know, they've activated this brain chemistry and that hormone and this part of your endocrine system and then your adrenals and all of that. And oh, here it is. Here is the concoction, the chemical compound for fear. And here is how we push the button and impulse them. And here's how we loop it. Here's how they get addicted. Here's how, you know, all of these things. So can you bring in more of a perspective of yeah, of course you're experiencing, your buttons got pushed, you feel fear, there's limitation. And all the while, that perspective is you underneath the cap inside the jar, right? How do I get out? So just giving yourself permission to have that perspective, because you're ready, the guides are saying, to just realize that all of it is about Loosh. You're an unlimited being. It is absolutely more than feasible for you to, you know, experience your version of upgrading, up-leveling your career, expanding. And I'm going to pull it out of your throat again. And again, our belief systems are with us long before our human. And I'm bringing that up because I'm finding that, especially when it comes to people looking back at loved ones who have passed, and us and like kind of starting to look into what belief system represents that experience that that loved one had. And it doesn't always align with their human, which is showing me that it aligns with the soul conscious belief system. Even if it wasn't a major physical, or not physical, but conscious theme of their human life, it was a major theme in their consciousness. So the lack of understanding that humans have around everybody's responsibility of their manifestation and creation in their life leaves a huge gap and room for guilt, shame, blame, manipulated responsibility, all of these things, right? It creates a massive experience and allowance for victim consciousness. Because if you felt guilt for not caring for your father, that's a part of you not being able to accept that he is fully responsible for his life experience. He chose an experience that puts him in a position where he must be fully caretaken, right? And that means that he's put people in a position that they need to possibly give up a lot of their desired experiences through freedoms of being able to navigate and move around without having to tend to his high level needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And
Okay.
can I just say something that just came up for me, which I just kind of wanted on the recording? Is as you were talking, this like excitement inside my head just said, "You mean I can do whatever I want?"
Yeah.
And it's like
what?
yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where your consciousness said, hey, okay, cool. I would really like for you to help me reactivate my belief in guilt. And let's do that through your belief in victimization. You know, and your belief in like condemning your physical body through fear and rigidity. And show him, because he still holds this belief system. He still is consciousness. that this is just a held belief system. You know, okay, I'm going to start to unwind my guilt. That gives you permission to unwind your belief in hard-heartedness, rigidity, fear. Hey, Dad, your game is over. You hit the reset button. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to carry your belief systems, nor do I. Game over. Fresh slate.
Yeah. And I feel and I felt that communication was always an undercurrent through our relationship, even though we weren't acting it out, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because actually, like, he was always really into this type of exploration,
Mm-hmm.
and digging and talking to people, you know, like you. But it's almost like he was at the wrong place at the right place at the wrong time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't ready, or I don't know.
Well, if his consciousness opted in so completely to a victim experience, it's because his belief system was so anchored and entrenched in that karma, and you know, I've got to even the scales. This is my experience. This is what I deserve. So, and I've recently learned karma is a huge trap. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It is a long-standing hold on guilt and shame and blame. We
Well,
just keep
it makes sense. I mean, it is a piece of man-made religion.
and it is a brilliant way to keep us recycling, reincarnating, so we can keep offering loosh. That's what it is. The higher reason is because if we continue to reincarnate through belief in karma and guilt and recycling, there is always a replenished crop.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't say this to all clients, you
Oh,
know,
no. I'm
because
just
it's a big
processing,
one.
because it makes complete sense in a way.
Yeah,
And, like, you know, the act of actually acknowledging it and reaching for the highest thought is just like the ultimate rebellion.
yeah. Like, welcome to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Now, sex. Okay, sex is our most powerful connection and wake up into the remembrance that we are creator source.
Yeah.
And therefore, sex must absolutely be distorted and manipulated in order to keep us a crop species.
This is what my film is about. Yeah.
Yes. So go ahead and factoring this in now, why don't you reiterate what you wanted to look at for your sexual life?
Well, I feel discord when I am engaging in new relationships where sex is on the table, because all of these fears around creating are getting confused. Like, in on the one hand, all I want to do with someone that I'm dating is experience like a now moment that amplifies those really high, positive, good feelings. And then there seems to be this backlash that causes me emotional distress around what's going to happen. Am I going to like be dating this person? Like these really kind of like anchored
Mm-hmm.
thoughts that create emotional distress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The image they're giving me and what they're saying, right, is the fairy tale effect. So, okay, again, from the perspective of Loosh, and especially for you, because this is so much your world, your professional world, looking at, let's use Disney, for example, right? The design and the design of creating a very embedded, ingrained belief structure of how romance and love is supposed to go, what it's supposed to look like, the susceptibility of the damsel in distress, the white knight, the longing, the experience where they're gone and there's missing, and that's all I can focus on. When is he going to come back? And then the rescue and the whole thing, right? And he
Yes.
comes and he saves you and he scoops you up, and the happily ever after, and the okay. And then in that time, there's never a he scoops you up, but then you realize that he's a cheating, lying bastard, and that he's gone behind your back, and right. So that whole real experience is a shocking, slamming experience, creates a huge burst of Loosh. Because that, especially initially when that starts to happen, like our first experiences of that, right? That slamming, shocking heartbreak in whatever form that is, that creates so many fractured neural pathways and muscle memories and rerouting that create a very complete addictive process when neural pathways are rerouted in that manner. It's a PTSD trauma that creates a very thorough anchored experience in your physiology. So it creates an addictive brain pattern, right? So of course you can't get out of it because your body is wired to it. Now, the image that they give of the inserted agenda in the Disney land experience is as if somebody's holding a it looks kind of like one of those oval loofahs, like that's the shape, and if it had like a hand grip behind it, so your fingers are wrapped around the grip and then the loofah would be over your knuckles, but then instead of a loofah, it's all of these tentacles. It's like these wormy tentacles that get into everything, and that tool is inserted into the Disney effect. And those tentacles get in there and, oh, white knight, impulse, loneliness, oh, desire, rescue, intimacy, passionate gazes into the eyes. All of these tentacles are all in you. And then slowly that thing, that tool, tentacle tool, at some point unhooks from what the person's holding on to or the being's holding on to, and moves in like a parasite and sits in you. And then it impulses you. And then it kind of takes on a mind of its own because it starts controlling you. You know, it's in the pilot seat. It's pushing buttons on your brain and your endocrine system and your emotions and your ovaries and all of this, right? And you think it's you, but it's not because it's integrated into your system so seamlessly.
Let's get it out.
Yeah. So come behind and look at that, and you can see it so perfectly because you understand more than most people how these types of meanings are laid into movies and stories, and right.
Yeah.
And so all you have to do, because you know, and for you it's so very real, it's what you do every day, come behind just as you are, the director, the producer, and extract that undercurrent, underlying intention, agenda, meaning. See the design of it and remove it out of your story. And see how, absolutely, from the experiencer standpoint, it feels the way you feel when things start to get mucked up and confused, and you feel maybe insecure or like it's your weakness or something. And pull it out of the whole script, pull it out of the entire scene. And all you have to do now is, when that engages, it's totally fine. Of course it'll engage. It's embedded in you. Long standing embedding, before this life embedding, right? Though now you get it. Okay, that's happening again. And then you pull back into your director scene, into your director observational space. And you say, nope, nope, nope. I command myself, and even talk to them. Because the deal is here, the reason why Yeshua and these benevolent beings preach and push unconditional love and forgiveness and acceptance, it's not because it feels better and it's a higher ascended space as a master. That's where you would come from, this place of turning another cheek. It's because it's the only and most way to deactivate controller beings in Loosh. Right? That's the upper hand.
Wow.
It disintegrates them. They can't handle it. If you literally show up to a battlefield and you're facing an entity, a parasitic etheric entity, and you blast them with love and acceptance, and Carrie's going to dissolve before your eyes.
Yeah.
And so be aware that everybody else, everybody around you is also being loosed, right? Everybody is potentially Mr. Smith. So when you come in contact with these people that you're intrigued with and might want to date, and then that feeling comes up, they're unintentionally, their tentacle is looshing you. And you just blast their tentacles. You don't have to look at them. You look at the loosh entities in them. Look them dead in the eye. You can tell them in your mind, in your telepathy, I see you. Right?
Yeah.
You can innocently taunt them, I love you.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. I just had this come up so specifically with someone. Like, it's crazy. This is great. This is just like great tools.
Yeah. It's like, another, when I was doing the study about the Loosh, somebody brought up the movie Monsters, Inc. Perfect example.
I haven't seen that, but I will.
Yeah, I think it's number 2. There's one of them, but basically what they do is the monsters work in the factory, and the factory is wrapped around scaring children. Monsters under the bed. The bigger scare they get, the more energy the kids produce, and the bigger pay raise the monster gets. Right?
Aww.
And that's Loosh. It's amazing. And so it's like, what if, especially with somebody like you who can see a story out of something, right? What if we start to see everybody's walking around with all these little goblins and parasites and looshers and things just clinging on to us, hanging on. bouncing up and down as we walk down the street, impulsing, collecting.
Wow.
And the emotional, mental response is the key to knowing it's happening.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. And all the more reason, and this really brings in this experience of fifth dimensional new earth. This is how it shifts. Because the controller beings require a negative polarity harvest to take over this next round, this next evolution of human experience. But they've already lost control. They're not going to get it. They need like a 95% negative harvest for it to be a negative polarity takeover. Positive polarity, beings like us, only require a 51% positive harvest to take over. And so that's why they push so extreme. They need so much of it. They need so much of it to be, you know, the number one.
Wow. I love this.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Yeah. It's funny because the sort of like chemtrails have like diminished in the sky by like 85 to 90% gone. Whereas like a couple of years ago here, that was like almost every day covered. And like I see a little piddle now and I just like give it the finger. Because I'm like, fuck
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And then,
Exactly.
so it feels like that kind of energy, like, okay, you know, fearless, really, a fearless empowerment.
Exactly. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Wow.
It's yeah.
I really love too how I was feeling all of these things in this giant cross section across the different aspects of my life, and I didn't really know how to articulate how they were all connected, but
Mm.
what you just said completely makes sense. Like connects all the dots.
Yeah. And here's a big one here. Now this is I'm going to give you like an advanced piece that some beings are trying to tell me not to give. They don't even want me to do it. Of course they don't, which is interesting. There is something called black goo, and you might have heard me say it before in sessions. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
it for years in people's fields, and I've always purged it. I've always known it's not meant to be there, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And I'm going to send you a link to this woman's YouTube channel. It's amazing.
Okay.
And because she's got what's really cool, what's very different, and I think it's almost unheard of. It's like a very first experience. But her and this other man in Spain have received for a while now direct communication via some kind of internet forum of Pleiadian beings, Taygeta, which is a planet in the Pleiades. Um, Specifically, like 2 or 3 beings reach out and communicate, and they have an ongoing dialogue, and they just ask them questions about what's going on, what's really happening, and these beings give very clear, specific answers
I
from
love
their
it.
fifth dimensional perspective. It's amazing, and it's not channeled, so it's clean, right? Which is extra great. So this one of the videos, the woman goes into black goo, and they're talking about how petroleum on our Earth is actually 100% renewable, and the controllers know it. You know, the beings who actually work with petroleum, they know it's a fully renewable source, actually. because petroleum is Earth Mother's blood.
I've always thought that. I've always said that.
Amazing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And in petroleum and everything that it is, because it's more than just petroleum, right? Is just like in our blood, holds the DNA, holds the blueprint of every species that has ever existed on and in Earth. It's in the carbon. So there is a component within this petroleum that is also called black goo. Now, black goo is not only a physical element, it's an etheric element.
Okay.
So it shows up both in the physical and the etheric plane. There is negative charged black goo and positive charged black goo. The negative charged black goo can be completely neutralized by positive charged black goo. But the way that it exists in the body of Earth is that negative black goo resides much closer to the surface, and positive charged black goo resides much deeper into the Earth's core. Negative charged black goo is highly toxic from being near it and on contact. And on an etheric level, what it does is it completely alters the brain chemistry of anyone infected by it. And it turns one's experience into everything shadow. So depression, anger, all of it. And if it is long-standing, it creates a completely apathetic, narcissistic psychopath. Negative black goo is completely deactivated by high levels of unconditional love, compassion, and open heart. So people that are really tuned in to that experience in their being neutralize it and deactivate it. Though I've absolutely seen it in plenty of compassionate, loving people. It's just that, just like hooks of energy, right? If you've got a schism in your field, if you've got a trauma, it can slide in through that weak point, right? Now, just like with looshing, it's the same thing, because loosh energy also comes from carbon-based sources, organic carbon-based sources, not just humans. This negative black goo is harvested. It's used to create apathetic killing machines. So like super soldiers, basically. And they go around harvesting, and then the agendas to impose the negative black goo on people, huge world wars, all these experiences, is a part of the whole thing. So, and this came from an experience. She says that the biggest, it's a naturally occurring event, though a lot of the negative charged black goo on our planet does not come from our planet. So what is now known as our asteroid belt long ago was a planet called Tiamat. And Tiamat blew up, self-destructed, and it has an affiliation with like Mars-like masculine energy. There was a lot of imbalanced energy on that planet. A lot of humans play out the karmic loop of experiences on Tiamat. And when that planet blew up, all of the parts of it moving into the atmosphere, and by law of like gravitational attraction from planetary bodies, a huge dump load of that negative black goo came into Earth's atmosphere and magnetized onto her and into her body. So a lot of it has come from that experience, and it is found in mass amounts in a lot of areas where there has been just war, conflict, economic strife for decades in our planet.
Wow.
Now, they're bringing this up because you can also start to see when people are infected with negative polarity black goo, and they'll move through it. So you can start to really understand, and you can neutralize it. It won't infect you through your high levels of compassion and love, though it gives more awareness around why people respond and act the way they do. And because of its etheric nature and the average human's inability to see the etheric realms because they've blocked their sight, it is undetectable. So look at that piece right there, because that's your susceptible piece that you were supposed to work extra hard with love and take on their responsibility to quote unquote fix them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And notice that, because that's how they're going to keep hooking you, keep hooking you, keep hooking you. If that's a weak point for you, that's what they're going to exploit you. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Exploit me. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So if you can be aware of your weak points, then you can have that conscious observational awareness when they're being exploited.
Yeah. Yeah. And that person that I interacted with in a really weird way this past week was literally like a direct match for that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And that'll attract into your fields, you know, when that, uh, because that's, you know, they know how to very much work with it to magnetize and utilize your ability to manifest through that. But you can deactivate it. The trick is that because it initiates our brain chemistry and our emotional response, the reality experience is so real.
Yeah.
You know, and that's that piece of having to be really disciplined in knowing that it's the matrix.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see it. There's this, it's crazy, Chloe, but there's this like entity to my left right now who is like a black, large tentacles, like watching.
Mm-hmm. And send it love and light, and have the guides magnetize it out of your space in the name of the great central sun and creator source. And just love bomb it. And allow your body, all of your bodies, to become, you know, like mist in a way. So there's no solidifying spot where it can stay anchored in you.
Yeah.
And watch the little filaments, even like any of the energy in your neural pathways and in your you know, striated muscle tissue and all of it, just pull right on out. And start really opening up too, as well, to that experience that this is beyond your human. This is in your consciousness. So you can let that start to release your thought forms in your consciousness of looping into this belief pattern.
Yeah. It's just not even real.
Mm-mm. Take that, Loosh.
Yeah, exactly.